In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The doctor delivered me and said I was a threat to the world and I should have been aborted. The prophecy read I would have been sedan, the spirits in pocket, bigger possessor. Lord just bless me with armor to battle, to calm it and shake all the drama. The world's in the palm of your hand, so I know you can protect me. I know it's the reason you blessed me with venom to stand it. When I spit it, be hurt.
Eye of the skies, exopolitics, religion, current events, full circle.
Hey everyone, this is your host, the Gypsy King, along with Dr. Nothing, and we are doing Obulus Skies.
Thank you, Gypsy King. I'm Dr. Nothing, and we're going to cover some subjects today. If you haven't seen on our website yet, if you go to obulusskies.com, and that's just one S between skies and obulus.com, and click on programs under the little logo in the menu, you'll see the topics that we'll be discussing today, and with some backup material to go with it.
So we're going to kick it off with a little introduction about ourselves. I'm the Gypsy King. I came to Q4 Radio about 3 years ago doing a show called Chicago Underground, pretty much promoting underground music, independent artists, playing their music on the radio. So during that time, I met Dr. Nothing, and we had a sit down and start discussing some things. And he pretty much alluded to aliens or something like that. And after a while, I came back and I, sat down with him again and got a more deep conversation about it. And that's how we met, and we started talking about some stuff that we experienced, and we thought it would be a good idea to do a show.
So, yeah, it was about 3 years ago that we were discussing this, and at the time we were operating the radio station out at Civic Lab, right next to where Harpo Studios used to be. And I remember that Ruben had pointed out a unidentified flying object, and I remember up to the point of him pointing to something, but I don't remember anything after that. This is typical of sightings. Very few people are able to remember their sightings. Other people, it gets repressed in their memory. So memory regression therapy could be helpful in trying to reveal some of these memories to that person. Particularly those with abduction cases. So we were talking a bit about abductions, aliens, and also religion, and then what this all means in the big picture of things, and what it means for humanity.
And let me stop for a moment, because the point when you stop remembering is when I thought I was validating a point in my experience. It's like finally somebody is able to witness with me at the same time something that's in the sky, unidentified flying objects, UFOs, whatever the case may be, and you can't remember it, and that's like a dagger in my heart. Another time, I won't say any names, but we was at a 4th of July picnic, fireworks were going off and stuff like that, and me and some other people were watching the fireworks, and then at the same time, I so happened to see a UFO. And I pointed it out. I yelled. I said, "Look, right there, UFO." And 3 people that were with me turned and looked. And all 4 of us saw it, you know. And one person doesn't remember seeing it. And I thought, right now, you know, I felt like, yes, finally somebody witnessed it. I'm not crazy. They are not crazy. So we in this little boat together. We experienced something that has been hidden from us for centuries, God knows when. And all of a sudden, one person didn't remember it. And it was somebody very significant in my life. And then I ended up calling the other guy. And I said, do you remember seeing the UFO? Blah, 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 blah. And he said, now that you mention it, yeah. So I was like, cool. At least somebody other than me that was in the group experienced it. So I think the real problem is not that we experience a UFO or people laughing at us. It's the fact that how many people witness it and don't remember.
That's something that I've been looking into. And it all ties into the mind control aspect, too, with respect to what frequencies between the half hertz and the 2 hertz causes stuff in our nervous system. And one of the things could be trauma and stress. And those 2 things are used to repress memories.
So when you say trauma and stress, I mean, typically when people think about stress, they think about work, you know, havoc situations, stuff that builds up for a long period of time. You end up getting stressed out or depressed about it. And I think that certain events trigger, like, for instance, panic attacks and stuff like that, and trigger these things. But I never understood, like, the radio frequencies and stuff like that. So,
well, everything operates and can be affected through the magnetic spectrum, and particularly through the half hertz to 2 hertz frequency, which is a very low resonance, and it's not easily picked up, not by our senses anyways, but it is picked up by our nervous system, and our nervous system responds to it. These are the frequencies that our nervous system produces when we are in different states. So, you know, if it produces that, we could induce it with the same.
Okay. So by us witnessing something that is pretty much freaking us out, then something...
Well, the UFO sighting is not necessarily going to freak anybody out. It's what they're emitting to you that's affecting your nervous system not to remember that. So
in other words, the UFO pops up, it produces some type of frequency. So just in case anybody see it, we become forgetful.
Yeah, through emitting the frequencies for stress and trauma.
Okay, that's interesting. So there's any way we could block this frequency, or?
Yeah, you just look at the UFO in one of those Faraday cages, or just surround yourself in tinfoil and poke a couple holes for your eyes and look out. Because tinfoil and lead, both materials used in paint and mental institutions, do block EMF radiation, which is pretty much anything in the magnetic spectrum.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. See, the thing is that the forgiveness part is something that I never thought that I would witness, because that's kind of creepy for me. You know, that's just like saying me and you walking down the street and all of a sudden somebody get hit by a car and you call the ambulance, and, you know, I run over there and try to emit CPR or whatever, and then the next day you don't know nothing about it. It's not as drastic as witnessing a UFO, but to me it is. Because it's like, okay, you had your phone, you tried to zoom in on it, and it was still blurry, and you was talking about getting a camcorder and all that kind of stuff. Do you remember saying anything like that?
No.
See, that's freaking me out, man. that's weird to me because we was talking and we was watching it for a long length of time, you know. So that's blowing me away right there.
I am prone to symptomology caused by stress. So
but
if
you weren't
I'm
stressful at the time.
oh, I may not appear to be stressed, but on the inside, hell is breaking loose.
Man, see, that's crazy to me. That's crazy.
But it's not the thoughts that are causing it. It's something that's being emitted because I'm not having thoughts that are causing me stress. I'm pretty calm.
Yeah, you were. I mean,
But I could feel my nervous system was shaking.
you looked at me. Okay, I remember this clear as day because you was talking about UFOs, and I said, "Look, you see that right there?" And you looked out the window, and I said, "That's not a star right there." And you looked at me sideways, like, "Get out of here, man." And I said, "No, look at it." And you looked at it, and then you noticed it was drifting bit by bit. And it was too low in the sky to be an airplane, a satellite, or anything like that. It was almost like 30 feet above a building or something. We was by the Fox car dealership or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, above Genesis Art Supply. And I pointed it out to you, and I said, "Look, I notice these things all the time." So when you looked at it, and you was kind of excited, so I guess that was some form of stress going on through your body. But.
You know, I remember that there was some experience that got me to buy a telescope and looking into how to check, if these are military, if they have FIN numbers on them, and then do FOIA requests.
Oh my God.
That's where I think that's where that came from.
Yeah, we talked about getting a telescope
And now, since between the move from here to the radio station, I don't know what happened to the telescope. It disappeared.
Man, you freaking me out, man. This is getting crazy. But also you got a book that you published.
Yeah. So we could go over the mental hospital book first. Okay. And this is a survival book for anybody that's gone through mental hospitalizations. And it was the turn of the 20th century that the moral code was changed with respect to mental hospital patients, where it was nullified the idea that the hospital is to protect society from the individual. It actually had a reversal. It is to protect the individual from society. And there was that moral code change that made that establishment. So if you're ever in any kind of trouble, whether if it's your psychosis or if it's for social reasons, an ambulance is your safest bet. If you think that there's a conspiracy against you and you're in trouble, you're in hot water, call for an ambulance, dial 911 and say, what I think I'm doing may be a danger to myself right now. And whatever it's the police after you, the FBI after you, or whatever you think it may be, if it's delusion or if it's not, it's real to you, and that's what matters. So call for an ambulance, and once you're in the hospital, you're safe. And if it's for social reasons, like it has been for me a couple times, the staff will be asking you why you're asking for hospitalization, or why you're asking for protection every so often. So this all comes from the idea that mental hospitals were established as asylums. And asylums, the original meaning of asylum is sanctuary. It's a place to have sanctuary and peace of mind. In my book, Mental Hospital Survival Guide, I go into all the possible delusions, which may be realities, and justify the technology for that to happen, including interception into the televisions, and specific programming to televisions to either gaslight or cause trauma in the individual. And later in this program, we'll go into a couple of patents that are all related, but one revolving around using television sets to stir up our nervous system, using what we were talking before, the half hertz to 2 hertz frequency range that are easily emitted from the television sets. So we'll discuss later how that can play into rewiring our brains to be something that we don't want to be. So with that, I'll tell you that my book is available on Amazon, and I created a short link to all the books that I've written, including this one, with a second edition coming out, which includes alien abductions and 2 other chapters, including the patents are in the second edition. You go to https://hand.is/books. So that's a site I created out in Iceland, hence the IS TDL. So again, it's hand.is/books, and that'll get you to my books. I do have another book out based on my experiences with my paranoid schizophrenic friend, who's now homeless in California. His trigger is that his apartment was bugged, and he doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be confined in 4 corners anymore of an apartment. Common with a lot of schizophrenics that are paranoid, they end up homeless because they don't want to live in a home, because they don't feel they could escape a situation as quickly as if they were out in the street. And they tend to be survivalists. But they also push away anybody that's close to them when they're in that state of psychosis. And it's been an ongoing battle for me and his family to try to get him any kind of help. Typically, help happens when they're in a desperate situation because of lack of insight into their illness. So that kind of portrays, this book kind of portrays making distinctions between psychosis and real conspiracy. And it tends to be that those that have psychotic disorders become targets of either patsy jobs or become targets of gaslighting. And, because of their psychosis and history, nobody would listen to them or believe them. And that's the common reason why they are targets for these kind of tactics.
See, the biggest thing that alarms me is not only witnessing UFO phenomena, but also listening to other people's stories. Because I had a friend who was a paranoid schizophrenic, and his thing was there were people living beneath his apartment, and they could see everything that he was doing inside of his apartment. So one time he came to my house, and we was chilling, and he was telling me about all of this stuff. And I said, well, man, look, me, you, we could go to the apartment downstairs, with a couple of baseball bats and stuff like that, and knock on the door. And each solution I gave him, he gave me a reason why that wouldn't work. So in other words, no matter what solution I gave him, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to fly. And he wasn't going to. It wasn't going to solve his problem. So, is it like a point where they themselves create situations that keeps them in that mind state?
Well, it's the situations that they create for them are all mental situations. And schizophrenics tend to be more intelligent than the average folk. So they will justify anything to support their delusion because their delusion is real to them. So why wouldn't it be? If something surprises them that it's not what it is, well, maybe it's not the basement. Maybe it's Middle Earth. Maybe it's the honeycomb Earth theory where aliens are the ones that are manipulating and reading his mind in his apartment.
So in other words, it's happening. Regardless of what solution, there's always going to be a reason.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
So the only way to confront that would be some kind of psychotropic medication. But you as a friend, just being there is grounding for him or her. I don't know who this is. Would be enough to comfort that person. You don't want to disprove necessarily their delusions, so long as that they're safe delusions. So as soon as they say that something's going to cause them to hurt themselves or somebody else, that's when you call for the police and ask for in Chicago, most states, you'd ask for a CIT officer that's crisis intervention trained, and they're trained by the NAMI organization, which is National Organization for Mentally Ill, which is a national organization. If you're in California, you want to ask for PERT, P-E-R-T, for the PERT team, and they're much like CIT. The reason why you want to ask for these teams is they're officers that are properly trained to deal with mental health distress situations and crises. All too often we hear on the news of somebody, a mother that calls for help, and then their son or daughter ends up getting shot and dead. We don't want that, so make sure you ask for a CIT officer, or in California, ask for PERT. We're going to go on a break, and we're going to play
Four Quarter Room by War, and we'll be back in about 9 minutes.
met each other this morning for a reason. Thinking, talking, we've worked out our problems. Look like we should have better days in front. Just because we took our time to think and talk for a much better understanding.
All right, so that was Four Corners.
Four Corner Room by War. Something to smoke to, chill, and think about some stuff while you're going through your moments, of heartache and pain. So that's something I listen to every now and then.
So we're going to change course a little bit and talk about mind control. Mind control has had a history in a recent time. It's also had a history with the Jesuits, for example. During the Inquisition, they would use torture methods to induce people to behave certain ways and to also force them to false confessions. And we have that today. We know, in just the Chicago Police Department, we get false confessions. So I'm going to segue into our next discussion. This is a clip at the very end of the movie, The Manchurian Candidate, which stars Frank Sinatra as the main actor. So without further ado.
Wounded men to safety amid 69 dead and 203 casualties. Holderman. Made to commit acts too unspeakable to be cited here. By an enemy who had captured his mind and soul. He freed himself at last. And in the end, heroically and unhesitatingly gave his life to save his country. Raymond Shaw. Harold.
Now, the creators of that movie, which came out, I think, in 1963, I think shortly before JFK was assassinated, don't claim nor deny their story plot, which was based on an earlier book, on reality. Though with Watergate, during the Nixon era, a lot of information was released regarding the secret CIA MKUltra program, and particularly Project Monarch, which was used using similar tactics that we discussed with the Jesuits, but to use stress and trauma to create shame in somebody, ultimately to create the ultimate assassin. That was the main goal originally of Project Monarch. We'll talk a little bit later today about its use currently. Even though MKUltra has officially been dissolved when it was made public, that doesn't mean anything really. But using MKUltra to condition people in society for use of blackmail purposes. So we'll get into that with Ruben in a little bit. I don't know if I'm jumping around in our list of subjects, but
no, we on point. We on point. But I'd like to get into a little deeper into the little simple things that we do to each other as far as mind control and forcing other people to do things. And children does this all the time, and it's bullying to a point, but not to the full extent. It's like when somebody is pretty much coercing somebody into a certain predicament or putting a person in a situation in which another person will act in a different way. And then the reverse version is people not doing anything. For instance, people are watching somebody getting beat up or something like that. And the point of watching but not reacting is one way of things happening. And then another way, when you mentioned shame, where people are basically programmed to behave in a way because they don't want to shame their parents. They don't want to shame somebody that they have a high respect for, honor, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things that it may sound simple and maybe even overlooked, but you wouldn't do a lot of things because of shame. You wouldn't walk down the street naked because of shame. You wouldn't lie to your parents because you don't want to get caught, or you'll lie so you prevent yourself from becoming shamed by your parents and stuff like that.
Right, and those are things that condition us to fit in society. However, when we are programmed to shame ourselves, that degrades our character, and we tend to do things that go against other people's interests.
And see, here's the thing, though. We also like to shame others, like Donald Trump, for one. He's pretty much like got a target on his back for everything that he does and says. People jump on him, make jokes about him and stuff like that. So now, because his character hasn't faltered in any way, so he does whatever he wants to do regardless of what people speak or say about him. And that type of character is, I'm not justifying his actions or anything, but I'm saying to overcome a lot of things, you need to have a strong character and a strong mind, not to bend to other people's persuasions, regardless of what the outcome may be. So one topic I would like to talk about was the patent in which you was...
we could discuss. There's several patents by this one inventor that was commissioned by DARPA, which is our defense research organization in our government, that came out of ARPA, and they were responsible for creating the web, the internet, called ARPA at the time, or ARPANET, in the 60s, and Douglas Engelbart did the first presentation of its use that we could familiarize ourselves today with, using the mouse and hypertext, back in 1963 at the NLE. So without getting too off tangent, these are great things, but some of the things that DARPA sponsors is used against humanity. And one of those things is this patent that uses televisions to induce a nervous system reaction, which is a very low-level reaction. It doesn't necessarily need a thought or a reason for that. And when you display an image on the TV associated with a feeling or an emotion, you're essentially reprogramming the brain to react to something that you normally wouldn't naturally react to. So the patents are available on our website at obeliskskies.com. And the patent that I'm referring to, there's 3 of them I listed, but they're all related. One of them involves a spinning magnet with a coil, but it basically anything that generates the half hertz frequency to 2 hertz frequency, and you're able to modulate that in a certain way to have an effect on the nervous system. That's what they're using. But for the TVs, that's U.S. Patent 6506148B2. Let me see. That's the right patent. And that patent was published January 14, 2003, although a lot of this stuff has been going on long before the patent was published. And it says in the half hertz frequency to 2 hertz frequency, you get to evoke in the person's nervous system anything from feeling sleepy to sexual excitement. So some of you might have remembered the news back in 2011 that the Pentagon was found in an abundance of child porn among how many people? Was it?
It was
defense contractors.
200 to 200 people, I think. I think it was 200 people.
Yeah, but there were like 1,000 contractors, I think, as well that worked out of the Pentagon. And the investigation, there was some investigation into it, but the claimant on the investigation is that they didn't have enough resources, which implies that this is a much bigger problem.
Well, let's hold on from that for a minute. I want to get back to the mind control and the TV. So my whole thing with this one, when I heard it from you, and it kind of resonated with me to a point where I start going back and thinking about all the cartoons that I watched. You know, like Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, and all that kind of stuff. So I started doing some research, and then I bumped up to this Pokemon they called the Lost Episode. And what happened was that for some reason, the people who made the show Pokemon or whatever in Japan, they played this episode, and it triggered some type of nervous response in which children were passing out, having seizures, and vomiting and all that kind of stuff. And this was about 100 people. And you can read this article on CNN, and it's titled "Japanese Cartoon Triggers Seizures in Hundreds of Children." And this is something that is not made up. You can Google it. You can look it up. This is in CNN. This is World News. This is public information. And if these people can do this in a cartoon, God knows what we are experiencing and being brainwashed or conditioned into feeling. Right now we have this thing called binge watching, where we watch like 6 or 7 shows or even all 13 episodes in one day or in one setting. And that appetite to consume that much information and stuff like that, it's like we can't wait anymore for the next week when the show comes back on. Now we just got to have it all. And then once we get it all, it's that moment of drain where there's nothing else to watch. You got to feel that need with another show or something like that to give that appetite something to eat, or to justify the urge to watch something. You steady clicking or just trying to find something. So that creates that boredom. That, you know what I'm saying? It's like when your mind is desperate to do something and that boredom sets in, you got all this stuff to do, but you don't want to do it. So you're still sitting on that couch and you flicking through through the stations. And stuff.
It's sedative, and people that watch a lot of TV, the imagery on the TV desensitizes our senses, and I think there's something going on with our nervous system where we become more docile. So with those both in mind, like you were saying earlier, there could be somebody getting hurt and somebody else just watches or just walks away.
Yeah. So
doesn't even think twice to help.
Yeah.
So that's a social conditioning of apathy. Well, I wouldn't call it apathy, but society and the news calls it apathy. Because if you call it apathy, you're more or less putting the blame on the person. It's a social conditioning through technology and through culture that causes that. So we need to redress these issues in the right frame in order to address them and counter them.
Yeah, bottom line is it's time to unplug from the TV, or unplug your children from the TV and stuff like that. I mean, I watch Netflix and all that kind of stuff all the time, so I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying get your children from up under the TV and
get your kids into sports, get your kids playing with their neighbors' kids, Get them outside in the sun. Serotonin is a wonderful thing, and we just like plants, we need sun.
Yeah. So now getting back to some more serious topics, and that's one thing we was going to talk about is the Pentagon. I mean, these people are the ones who's supposed to protect us. And unfortunately and sadly, they have been caught in child pornography. And this opens up a lot of can of worms in regard to cover-up, conspiracy theories,
blackmail,
fake news, all types of stuff in which buries the real problem, and that's child pornography. And the fact that it alludes to how is this possible, and at the same time, how do we forget about this? It's like mind control. We hear something, we shocked, and the next thing you know, years later, it's gone. So we're going to play a clip, and this is from CNN, so you don't have to take our word for it. We're going to provide information and let you hear it for yourselves.
This is from 2011, so nothing has been done about this ever since, from what we could tell. It's been buried under the rug, so here it is.
Keeping them honest tonight, potentially hundreds of military employees and contractors who may have bought child pornography online but haven't been prosecuted or even in some cases investigated. That's right, you heard me, child pornography. As many as 1,700 names, according to a U.S. Senator, on a list of 5,200 from an internet sting operation overlooked the first time around 4 years ago. Only now are they supposedly getting a second look, and only after pressure from investigative reporters and the U.S. Senator you're about to hear from, Republican Charles Grassley. The Pentagon porn story began in 2006. An Immigration and Customs Enforcement child pornography sting operation called Project Flicker produced payment records of about 5,200 people, many of whom provided Army or fleet zip codes or military email addresses. Subsequently, the Pentagon's investigative branch, DCIS, began going through the ICE list to identify who actually was a DoD employee or a contractor. The investigation, however, only ran for 8 months and only cross-checked some 3,500 names for Pentagon ties, according to a senator. According to DCIS documents revealed in a Freedom of Information Act request, out of that 3,500, investigators uncovered 264 employees or contractors, including staffers for the Secretary of Defense and contractors at the NSA. 9 people had top security clearances. But only about 20% of those 264 people were completely investigated. Fewer still were prosecuted, and after about 8 months, the entire probe was halted. It left about 1,700 names totally unchecked, 1,700 alleged kiddie porn customers, an unknown number of whom may still work in some capacity for the Defense Department. Late last summer, after investigations by the Boston Globe and Yahoo News revealed the figures, a Pentagon spokesman promised to reopen the investigation, conceding that DCIS had stopped due to lack of resources. DCIS says it is now revisiting all 5,200 names, telling Senator Grassley's staff they've now identified 302 employees or staffers. The Pentagon's IG telling us, and I quote, "Any suggestion that the DoD Office of Inspector General or its criminal investigative arm, the DCIS, is not taking Operation Flicker and the issue of child pornography seriously is in error." But Senator Grassley says he is still not getting the cooperation he needs from this Pentagon. I spoke to him earlier. Senator Grassley, you were told that 5,200 Defense Department employees had allegedly purchased child porn, and yet you're saying only 3,500 of those names were cross-checked by a defense investigator to see if they were really DoD personnel. That's mind-boggling. Why weren't all of them cross-checked?
Well, we don't have an answer to that question, but it's quite obvious that the other 1,700 should have been cross-checked, and that's one of the answers to my questions that I want answered, and the implication of our questions is they ought to be cross-checked. We ought to find out, because we're talking about not just general pornography here. We're talking about child pornography, and child pornography, taking that down, is a crime. And also, there's an added factor here. The child pornography considering the fact that there's a lot of secured information, national security information that the world shouldn't know, that a lot of times foreign operatives will use this sort of criminal activity to blackmail to get information. So there's a lot of things here that are involved because it's a Defense Department issue as opposed to any other department of government.
Right. I mean, sir, if your numbers are correct, 1,700 people out there who allegedly purchased child porn, we don't know if they were ever cross-checked or investigated, right?
That's true, and there's been some other names in the hundreds where there's the names have actually been given out that we don't know what's going to be done about them. Now, there's some reason to believe that it's a criminal act. It's been so far since it's happened that they could be stale. Maybe you can't have criminal prosecution, but we would be looking at administrative action to be taken against these people. And I want to know who they are and what administrative action's being taken.
Yeah, because what's even more startling is that of the 302 people confirmed as DoD personnel or contractors, only 70 of them were actually investigated. How is it possible that all of them weren't investigated?
Well, here's, I think, the thing that overrides everything you just asked, and that is we ask criminal investigators in the Division of Defense that does that, the extent to which supervisors of these people knew that this was going, and the criminal investigators couldn't even answer that question for us when we had a briefing from them.
So wait a minute, so you're saying we don't even know if the supervisors of these people were told that their employees may have downloaded child porn?
That's the question that my staff asked of the criminal investigators, and they could not answer the question whether or not supervisors had been informed of this. And if supervisors don't know about it, it's a bad environment that things like this can happen in the first place, and worse, that it's a criminal act when things are downloaded.
Until you started raising this issue, this investigation was closed by the Defense Department. They only investigated for about 8 months. Do you think the Pentagon just didn't take this seriously?
Well, it's quite obvious that they didn't take it seriously, because it wasn't only that I was asking the questions. It wasn't until it started getting questions from people like you who are journalists that this got their attention, and we got any consideration and reopening of this in the first place.
Well, one of your staffers told us that getting information from the Defense Department on this has been like pulling teeth. Is that how you describe it?
Yeah. Oh, I've been involved in oversight of the Defense Department for almost all the years I've been in the United States Senate. And it's very difficult to get answers from a lot of bureaucracies, but it's quite more difficult in the Defense Department.
Senator Grassley, I appreciate your time. We'll continue to follow this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
See, that's scary. And here's a situation where they've been caught red-handed, and
right.
There's no way you can say that didn't happen. No, sir, that didn't happen. And we investigated. We didn't find any evidence. They found evidence. And here's another thing that trips me out is that not one, not two, but it's just like everybody was just sharing it like it was candy or something, passing it around or something. And then on top of that, it's vanished.
Right. Nobody heard of it. Nobody talks about it. It's gone from our memory.
And this is 2011.
2011, yeah.
And it was a couple of months before then or whatever. So now it's 2017 and nobody's talking about it.
Well, I'm trying to expose this issue, and I've been researching the subject matter for about 15 years now, on and off. And I struggle with schizophrenia myself, so my research has been stalled, and such, and I don't collect all my resources. But in the document page, I did include a 600-page document on total mind control using the method of Monarch. And it goes through all the stages and all the types of abuse in order to take somebody's will away. And that's really the goal here, is to take our will away so we can be controlled. That's the pretext for why all these abuses are taking place and proliferated. Is for control, and in both government and defense aspects, it's used for blackmail. If you go against the system or the status quo, they'll dig up something on you. Oh, you have child porn. Well, they don't go into the reasons why you were induced to like that type of stuff. They just prosecute you based on the surface of the issue, that you have child porn, and then they put you away.
So the other statement that is going on is that not only is they watching child porn, but there's a process in which child porn is produced. So by the Pentagon watching this stuff, watching this filth, then they are part of child abduction. They are part of all the acts that's included into it: kidnapping, warehousing,
trafficking, private islands.
All this stuff is involved. And then the Pentagon is sitting down enjoying themselves watching this filth. And here's another topic. Laura Silsby, she goes to Haiti after this earthquake. And this is, you could look this up, you could Google it. This lady goes to Haiti, right? And she gets caught kidnapping 33 children. She kidnaps 33 children and she gets caught. Okay, so she's caught red-handed, right? So this woman is now working for the company that creates data for the Amber Alert. So, I mean, conspiracy theory, fake news, no. This woman kidnapped 33 children, got caught. Now she's working for the company that produces software for the Amber Alert. So how often do you hear the Amber Alert? Now here's some statistics for you. And I want you to do your homework if you really care about what I'm saying. Go look up how often does children get kidnapped. And you get those stats and compare it to how many times you hear the Amber Alert. So if you have 15 children missing in a month in your city and you haven't heard the Amber Alert 15 times, there's a problem. In Washington, D.C., 14 children disappeared in 1 month. 14 children disappeared in 1 week. In 1 week, 14 children disappeared. So that caused the alarm. And this is how you could Google that as well. This is how the police, whitewashed it and said, well, 4 of those children just ran away. They didn't want to be at home for whatever reason, and they just left. So that just means 10 young girls were just taken in 1 week. No matter how you splice the numbers, it's just still crazy. And the fact that we overlook this thing, we hear it, but we don't hear it, and we wait for the news to tell us what's going on. But you have the Pentagon, you have the police, you have a network of people who have to come together and gather these people, put them somewhere to make these things. And it's just crazy. And another point is that not too long ago, I was watching on the Channel 9 News, Robin Robinson, I think this was 2 weeks ago, Channel 9 News, early morning. She said that there was a rise in child kidnapping because due to the demand of child pornography. And I tried to look it up because I wanted to add it to the show, and I couldn't find it. And it was tripping me out. I was like, man, I heard it. It was on the news, blah, blah, blah. I got to get it for the program. So the reason why this is on Nebulous Skies is because there's a lot of things going on, and that's why this segment is called Trouble Ground. It's because this is a lot of trouble and information that we're putting out there. It's a lot of Native American people who are being kidnapped.
Orphans, illegals.
Yeah.
People, the people that are targeted, the kids that are targeted are those that cannot be easily accounted for.
So this article called Indian Country Today, and the title is Missing and Murdered. No one knows how many Native women have disappeared. It's staggering. So they know who to target, where to go to get whatever they want to get. And the whole underlying thing is this. People are being taken away, and God knows what's going on and what's being done to them. And the Pentagon is in the center of it. And we got the information. There's the news. There's YouTube. There's Google. I mean, you cannot say that you don't know. I mean, you can look it up. And this is not fake news. This is concrete information that we're giving.
All right, so without further ado, we're going to end this show with two titles from Themis Trapezoid. One is titled Many Hands, Many Layers, and the other one is titled I Am Human.
And we're human, don't you see? We are humans, part of this humanity. And this language I speak is these words that are formed, some kind of words that are coming out like sounds that we created into a vocabulary, depending on the tribe and culture, so you can understand. You see, we have all these words and all this knowledge and numbers and things that make a lot of things work, but nothing really does.
So you were listening to today's program, 1 to 2 p.m., Obulus Skies with Gypsy King and Dr. Nothing. We'd like you to know that you can listen to us, or you can listen to this podcast later on today on our website at obulusskies.com. That is just one S between the Obulus and Skies. And you're welcome to find our program 001, our first program, under the image heading in the menu for programs. And you're welcome to make a comment what you thought about the program.
Also, I will be, next episode, we're going to discuss some UFOs that I recorded and talk about alien abductions. And we got a lot more information regarding on trafficking and also some other things. We're going to keep it moving and keep y'all informed. So this is Obulus Skies. And please leave some comments and share the info.
All right. As they say in Gujarati, chalo. It means goodbye.